Hey there, thanks for stopping by. My name's Dave Freitag and I am the Wall Street Cowboy. I want to thank you very much for your time and your attention. Today we're going to talk about scanners and how to build your own scanner for free. So sit back, enjoy, and again, if you like what you see in the content, please subscribe and tell your friends and come back often. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on that scanner. As usual, we certainly want to remind you that we are not financial advisors, we're not broker-dealers, and we don't make recommendations or solicitations to buy or trade any security or particular strategy. Our securities are used as examples for illustrative purposes only. We use a paper money trading account. By virtue of it being paper money, it is hypothetical in its nature, and therefore you should not believe you could duplicate these results exactly as we present them. Investing does have risk, and you can lose all or some of your money depending on the type of leverage you use. So please make sure you fully understand all the risks before you start a regimen of investing. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I put together my scanner. This is the one that I use. You can put something together very similar to this. This one's based on a live account. I'll show you how you can do it also in a paper money account if you wanted to. This really doesn't cost me anything. So I'll give you an outline on this. You could make it as complicated as you wanted. This one, I have lots and lots of different indicators I look at, but you could do it on just one indicator if you wanted. That's just completely up to you based on how you trade. So let me go ahead and get started and we'll show you how to build your own. Today's how-to video is going to be on how to build your own scanner, and I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch and for free. I'm going to be using the TD Ameritrade ThinkOrSwim platform for this. There's probably other platforms out there that may actually do this better, and you may be working from one of those, but we're going to focus on how to do it from ThinkOrSwim. ThinkOrSwim is readily available, it's free, and most people that trade have come across it and they understand it. So this will be a good source for anyone. I'm also going to be using a paper money trading account to show that anybody can build a scanner. I don't care if you're a $1 million trader doing 100 trades a day, or you're just starting out and you've been doing this for 6 months or a year, or maybe you haven't even made your first trade, you're still paper trading. Anybody, any level of trader can build this and have a working scanner. Again, it's free, so it's not going to have all the bells and whistles, and it's not going to have the capabilities of one of those scanners that look at 1 million stocks at a time, but it is going to be good enough to give you plenty, dozens of signals every day. I use mine every day. I don't have one of those expensive scanners, and I find trades several times a day. You'll be amazed at how many signals you get. One of the limitations on this is that you have to have a fairly small watch list. Now that watch list can only include up to about 40, maybe as many as 50 equities or securities. Once you get beyond that, the capabilities of ThinkOrSwim are exhausted, and you're going to start getting some error messages. So just understand that this is going to be much smaller than what a lot of the people out there that you see on YouTube use, but it's going to be plenty big for any trading, any level of trading. All right, the ThinkOrSwim paper money platform has all the same tabs and look and feel of the live trading. It's got a monitor tab, a trade tab, an analyze tab, and the scan tab. Now we're going to spend some time on this scan tab. On the paper money version, there are limitations on the scan tab. You cannot do any customized scans. You can do some default scans and some basic scans, and believe me, that's all you're going to need to do. The first thing that we need is a watch list, and that watch list has to be no more than about 50 symbols. If you get beyond 50 symbols, you start exhausting the resources that are available even in a live trading account from ThinkOrSwim, and you start getting some error messages that it just doesn't have the output, or it can't find the information, or something gobbledygook like that. But at any rate, you want to get your watch list down to about 50 stocks. And if you can do it down to 40, that'd even be better. So I'll show you how you do that real quickly. On the scan tab here, there's a number of filters. We're going to use the stock hacker. The option hacker is very similar to the stock hacker. I don't see many differences. What you're going to want to do is start to limit the number of stocks in the universe that you're going to be scanning. So if we start with all stocks, and then you can change it by maybe only limiting all stocks to those stocks that are in the S&P 500, and I'll show you that in just a second. If we look at all stocks, there's 14,658 potential stocks. Now these are stocks that trade maybe internationally, maybe trade below $1, maybe they are closed-end funds, all kinds of different things. So you may want to reduce that number and say, well, I only want stocks that are optionable. If we do that, we've just reduced our list down to 3,600. That's a big reduction from 15,000. Now, we may further want to reduce that by saying, I only want stocks. And we're going to come down here to public, because anybody can pull this up. It's default to every version of ThinkOrSwim that are in the S&P 100. That way I only get the best of the best, right? And so now that limits my universe to a total of maybe 100. In fact, let's go ahead and put that over here. Let's go to here, here, here. Now I only have 101 potential stocks. Alright, now let's say that I only want stocks that are trading above $10. But I also don't want stocks that are over, say, $500, because to me, 500 is plenty big. You start getting into those stocks that are trading for $1,000 and $2,000, it becomes just too expensive to trade those. So I try to avoid those. Well, I just reduced my number to 50. And let's say I want stocks that have volume of over 2 million shares. So I got 2 million or more. That's the minimum number. Alright, so you can see that I just reduced that. There's only 93 of those. Now let's say that I want stocks that have some kind of a fundamental feature to them. So I'm going to go over here and hit add a filter, and I'm going to go to the fundamentals. So I could say, you know, I want stocks that have a positive book value. In other words, they aren't in debt. Or maybe I want something that pays a dividend. I like to look at capitalization, market cap, and say I only want stocks that have, you know, a better than average market capitalization. I don't want to look at the really small stuff. So here's 47. Now my universe has gotten very, very small. I'm going to scan that, and it's going to give me is 50 maximum potential opportunities. So I'm going to scan, and there's about 40 stocks in there, right? And it's showing all 40 because it would go up to as many as 50. And I can further, you know, make this drill this down if I needed to. All right, so this gives me a pretty good watch list. It has some very familiar names: Apple, Microsoft, Cisco, Facebook, Coca-Cola, Walmart. These are names that you're familiar with, and they're gonna give you buying opportunities. You don't have to go find, Bill and Hank's Auto that just opened up a franchise and is trading at $3 a share. If that's what you're looking for, then scan for that. But get yourself your list of no more than about 50 names. 40 is going to be plenty. So now I'm going to hit this ellipse, and I'm going to save this as a watch list. Now I'm just going to call this, I don't know, Scanner 01. Yep. That's what happens when I don't watch what I'm typing. One of these days I'll learn to type. Alright, so now I just saved that. Now I'm going to go here to Market Watch, and I'm going to go to Quotes. I could easily hit this and then hit Quotes. Same thing. And I'm going to go to Personal, because I just made a personal watch list, and it's called Scanner 1. And here's those 40 stocks that I like. Now, if I want to add some stocks to here, I can pretty easily. I can come in here and hit ES, and now I have a futures. Here's the ES. If I don't like ES, or if I don't like, I don't know, maybe I don't like Philip Morris, and I'm going to put in Alaska Airlines. I can change this list on the fly, no problem. And I can do that every day. I can look through this and say, I'm going to leave Facebook on there, but I'm going to get rid of Target, and I'm going to put in CVS instead. I mean, you can change this as often, as frequently as you like. All right, now, once you have this, you have a list of columns up here that we have created. So let's go ahead and right mouse click, and you can see you can customize that. Now you also can go all the way over here to the right end and click on that gear, and it brings down the same box. Alright, that's easy enough. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's take everything out of here, and that's good. So the first thing that we want to do from here is now build our custom filter list. Alright, so we're going to hit custom. Now over here you can use any one of a bunch of default studies that are in the ThinkOrSwim platform. You can go through and pick out your favorite one that you like. I'm going to show you how to build some custom filters. Now there's 19 of them in there, and if you type in CUST, that's going to start bringing up all of your custom filters, and like I said, there's 19 of them. When you click on that, it's only going to highlight it, and that makes it easy for you just to drop over here to your current set. Let's go ahead and remove that. If you click on the scroll, that means that you can edit what that custom filter does. And you can name it something unique. Say, you call it gobbledygook. Well, that's fine. You can call it whatever you like. Now you're going to see that I changed the names of my custom filters. And I'll show you how I've done it. Notice that I have all these up here, even though the word custom, or CUST, is nowhere to be found. That's because these are my custom filters that I have created over the years. But ThinkOrSwim doesn't care what you name it. It still understands that this scroll bar is associated with custom number 5. Or custom filter 5. And I know that because I put an asterisk there and I put 05. That means it's custom filter number 5. This is custom number 6. This is custom filter 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and so on. And it comes up along with these, which are still known as custom 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright? Now, this 05 in here, that just tells me that it's a 5-minute indicator. In other words, it doesn't matter what kind of chart I'm looking at. This is only going to be giving me an output based on a 5-minute time frame. And what it's looking for is a green spike. Right? And this one's looking for a cast and so on. So I'm going to show you how we build that, but I just wanted you to understand that it doesn't matter what you name this, and if you can change it as much as you want, ThinkOrSwim is always going to know that custom 1, regardless of what you rename it, is always custom 1. Alright, so let's take a look and see how we build a custom filter. Now this is very, very powerful. Click here. Now it's probably going to come up with something like the simple moving average in here. It's just a placeholder. It doesn't mean anything. Go ahead and delete it. You can hit edit, and I'll show you that in a little bit, but you can delete it, and now you have a clean palette to work from. Now we're going to add a new condition. Boom. And let's say that I want to know when the whole moving average is ascending. Now that's very similar to a simple moving average. I want to know if the whole moving average is higher on the current bar than it was on the previous bar, whatever time frame that may be. So we're going to click here. We're going to go to Study. We're going to type in HULL for whole. Now we're going to bring up the whole moving average study. And under plot, there's only going to be one option. Now on some of these others, and you'll see it in a moment, there are several different plots. But for the whole, there's only one. The length comes default 20. I like the 15 better. And you can change this from looking at the close to what was the whole moving average based on the high and the low of the candle divided by 2. If you like that better, then use that. If you want to make it based on the average between the open, high, low, and close, then do that. For me, the close is just fine. But you have some flexibility there if you have a preference. Now, I want to know if the whole moving average, as represented by the HMA, whole moving average, on the 15 period based on the close, is greater than the study of the whole moving average from 1 bar ago based on the same 15. So whatever's over here should match what's over here, unless there's a specific reason for it not to match. So what does this say? The whole moving average, 15 period, is greater than the whole moving average, 15 period, from 1 bar ago. Let's hit save, and that's what it's going to read. Whole moving average, 15 period, is greater than the whole moving average from 1 bar ago. Pretty simple. Now, if you know how to do ThinkScript, you can do it there. It really reads very similar. There's really not a whole lot here, but I'll show you what you can do. The whole moving average is greater than the whole moving average from 1 bar ago. Well, maybe you want to know what it is from 3 bars ago. Hey, you can change it right there. That's no problem. Or you can go back to the conditional wizard, and you can see now it's been updated to 3 bars ago from 1. You can hit edit, and you can change it right here. Whatever you want to do. This is very, very flexible, very easy. Now, let's rename this. I'm going to put an asterisk here, and I'll show you why in just a moment. I'm going to say 01 because it's custom filter number 1, and that becomes important if you do a lot of these changes because you want to know which custom filter you're working with, and there's a reason for that. and I know that I want to use this on a 5-minute time frame, and it is the hull is rising. Up too many characters, so there's a limit to how many characters you can put in it. 16 is the limit, so you might have to rename this something so that it makes sense to you but doesn't exhaust the number of characters. So I have the custom filter number 1 on the 5-minute time frame. Hull is rising, and now I want to change what I'm looking at, and I want to look at a 5-minute. Maybe you want to look at a 2-day or a weekly or yearly. It doesn't matter. It can handle it. So I put 5 minutes. Now you have this option of saying I do want to include the momentum going into and out of the extended trading sessions, the pre-market and the after hours trading, and you can uncheck it if you don't. I particularly like to look at the momentum going into the open, and so I leave it checked. Alright, so I'm pretty much done with this. I got the custom filter 1 5-minute hull, including the extended trading session, is greater than the hull from 1 bar ago. Pretty simple. Okay, we're going to hit, now I'm going to hit just OK. I'm not going to hit apply, and I'll show you why. Hit OK. Notice it still says custom 1 here. Well, it'll eventually change to hull, this asterisk 01, 05 hull rise. It'll eventually do that. But as soon as I hit add this item, you're going to see the name change right over here. So don't get worried that it didn't change the name. That's just normal. But you can see now it changed it. Now it says 01, 05 hull rise. That's what I named it. And it has it over here. If I had to hit the apply button a few seconds ago when I saved it, it would have changed it immediately. So I just wanted to show you that. So now I'm scanning for stocks that are in my watch list that have a hull that is rising. Now let's add in a second custom filter. We're going to hit that. We're going to change this name. We're going to call this the market. Now let's first go asterisk 02, 05 market forecast cross. Up too many letters, so I gotta change that. So I'm going to say market FX, and I'm going to change this to a 5-minute because that's what I'm looking at here. And I could do a 2-minute if if that suits you better. I'm going to hit edit here instead of delete, just to show you that you can do it that way too. Hit edit. Now this says simple moving average as a value. Let's just click this down arrow, go to study right there. Just as easy. Now I'm going to type in market forecast. It brings up my market forecast. Now, if you look under plot, remember under the whole there was only one, the HMA? There are 3 different plots under the market forecast. It has 3 different moving averages. So you got to tell it which one that you want it to look at. It's going to default to the top one, which is momentum in this case. But if that's the one you want, fine. But if it's not, then you got to change it. In my case, I want to look at the near term. I don't care about the momentum. I want to know if the near term is greater than the market forecast. So I'm going to type in study, market F, market forecast. Now I don't care about the momentum, remember. Intermediate. I want to know if the near term has crossed above the intermediate moving average. And I want to know if it's done it on the current candle, and I want to know if it's done that anywhere within the last 4 populated candles. So anytime in the last 4 candles, if it's done that, I want to know about it. So I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to read this out. Market forecast near term is greater than the market forecast intermediate within 4 bars. So if it happened on this bar, then the next bar I'm still going to have a 1 because this condition is still present because it happened within 4 bars and we're looking back 2 bars. And it's going to stay there for 3 bars. It's going to stay there for 4 bars no matter what because it happened at one point or another during the last 4 bars. Alright, so that looks good. And now I'm going to hit apply and you're going to see this name will change immediately. As soon as I hit the OK. Boom. Now it says market forecast cross. Now I'm going to put in one more custom filter. And you can put in as many as you like, up to 19 I suppose. And I'm going to change the name on this to, oops, I always forget, asterisk 03 for custom filters 3, 5 minute. And we'll just show you that I'm going to run out of letters. Oops, market F rising. And right there I ran out of letters. So now I got to find a way to spell this out that makes sense to me. And so you might have to be creative here. I do MKTF rise. And that fits in there just fine. So it's custom filter 3, 5 minute time frame or aggregation. Market forecast is rising. I'm going to change my aggregation to match what I put here, which is 5 minutes. I'm going to leave my extended hours on. I'm going to delete, add a condition, type in study, market forecast. Now, I remember I don't look at the momentum, but I do look at the intermediate and near term. In this case, I just want to know if the intermediate is greater than study the market forecast intermediate from 1 bar ago. And it's just that simple. Now I can say, well, I don't really care about what's going on with the completed candle because that can change conditions frequently over a 5 minute period. It could be rising and then not rising, rising and then not rising. You know, I mean, this price action can make that pretty confusing to you. So you start getting a signal that's flashing on and flashing off, flashing on and flashing off. To avoid that, say, I want to look back at the last completed candle and I want to look 2 candles back. Is the market forecast intermediate of the last completed candle greater than or higher, rising above the market forecast intermediate from 2 candles ago? Hit save. Market forecast intermediate from 1 bar ago is greater than the market forecast intermediate from 2 bars ago. And maybe I want to see that. And I hit apply and OK. And now I have this. Now, I might also want to add more conditions into this one. Let's say that not only do I want the near term to be greater than the market forecast intermediate, in other words, it crossed from below, I don't really have a drawing tool in here, but it crossed, you know, the moving average was coming down on the intermediate and the near term was going up, so now it's above where the intermediate is. But I not only want that, but I also want to add a second condition in here. Study I want the intermediate to be less than a value of 50. Now, what that means is that the market forecast has a scaling from 0 to 100, and 50 would be halfway. So as the moving average moves from the bottom to the top, it moves from 0 to 100, back down through 50 to 0. Right. I want it to be below the 50% level on the range. So that value is 50. You see how the value is used? And I hit save. So not only does the near term have to be greater than the intermediate, but also at the same time, the intermediate has to be below 50% level on the range. So it's got to be in the lower half of its range, right? So I'm going to hit OK, and now that's part of my crossover. So I'm going to add that item and the market forecast add, and I can add in all these other different things I've put in. Maybe I want to know if it's been a doji, and all these other things. So I add in what I want. Hit OK, and now I'm going to get a series of 1s and 0s. If it's a 1, that means that this condition is satisfied. If it's 0, it means it is not satisfied. So it's an on-off. Either the whole is rising or it's not. So in this case, on UPS, the whole is rising on the 5-minute time frame, but it's not rising on 3M. If it's not rising, then it must be descending, right? Because it can't be doing both or none. It's got to be doing one or the other. I guess it could be equal to, but that would be super, super rare. All right, so here, MasterCard, it's descending, but IBM is ascending, and that's specific to the whole. Now, you can just do your scanner right from here and say, okay, I'm going to sort. I just want to know all the stocks that have a rising whole. And then I also want to look and say, whoops, here we go. I got two things. Not only do I have the whole rising, but I also had a crossover of the near term above the intermediate. And look here. I also have the market forecast intermediate rising. I got all three of those conditions occurring. Now, this is a little bit cumbersome to look at for me, but this is a very easy scanner and it works just fine. But let me show you how I do it, and it's a whole lot better. Now, these numbers, you could go blind looking at them, I think. So what I do is I come up here to this ellipse, and there's an export feature. Now when you come down here, if you don't see all four of these, you only see like 2 or 3, it means you have an older version of TOS. Just uninstall it and reinstall it, and the new version will bring this up where it says Microsoft Excel. So what you're going to do is you're going to be exporting all this information to Excel. Now there's going to be a little window that pops up here. It's only up there for a few seconds, so I'll tell you what it says. It just basically says you can paste this to Excel now. But we'll go ahead and hit export to Microsoft Excel. Before I do that, I want to go over something that's very, very important. The only way you're going to get that export is if this window is open. If you change this from quotes to alerts, you are no longer going to get an export to Excel. It'll stop reporting to Excel. Even though you've already told it to do so, it has to be an active window in order for that to happen. All right? It must be an active window. So what I do, So I come over here, the same ellipse where the export is, and I hit detach. Now I'll bring that over to the screen. Now I have a detached version of exactly the same thing I have here. And I have the same option. I can change the watch list if I want, but if you change the watch list, it's going to mess up your spreadsheet unless you correct your spreadsheet accordingly. So that's another lesson. But you want to attach this. Now you can drop this down to an icon. That's fine. It's still active. And now you can go look at the calendar here and see what earnings are coming up, or what dividends are happening. And you are still getting an export because you have your quotes out here. It's still running. So don't close this. Don't hit this X. You got to have this running, and every time you open TOS, this needs to be running. And if you just tell it it's part of the workspace, it'll open it for you every time you open TOS. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to reopen it every time. Just keep it in a separate window and it'll open it for you every time. It's no problem. Super simple. Alright, so that's the first thing you got to do. Now I'm going to go and do my export. And I'm going to come down here to Microsoft Excel. And then it comes up with this window. Just paste it into Excel. Basically what it's saying. So we're going to go back here to Excel. Now you could post it up here or paste it up there. I'm going to tell you why I don't do that. I'm going to put it over here because I want to use these cells over here, and I'll show you why. And you're going to paste it. And now you got all your ones and zeros, and you have your everything that was on that quotes page. The last trade, you can see how it's updating right here. That's real time. Now if we come down here to the ES, you're going to probably see that change frequently while we're doing this video. Even though the market's closed, the futures are still trading. This is going to work after hours. It's going to work real time. As soon as Excel or TOS updates, it's going to update on your spreadsheet. It's super cool. You don't have to do anything. Just keep you just have your quotes open. Now there is one other thing I'll tell you about, and you can have this open over here. But let's say that you like to have two instances. This is instance 1 of ThinkOrSwim. Maybe you have paper money and live trading up at the same time. Whichever instance that you open first is gonna be the one that the Excel spreadsheet is going to be looking at. Don't ask me how it does it or why it does it, but if you have two instances of TOS, it's going to be referring to the first one you opened. It doesn't matter if it's paper money or it's live. It doesn't care. Whichever instance of TOS that you opened, if it has an export, it's going to be looking at that one. So if you have two and your output, your quotes output, your scanner is on paper money, then always open paper money first and then open your spreadsheet, and it'll work just fine. If you do it in a different order, you're going to find your spreadsheet will just stop working at points. So it's super simple. I do it every day. I do it from live account. And then, the first thing I do is open ThinkOrSwim Live, then I open Excel, and then I open my paper money platform, and there's no problem. I do it every day, never ever have a problem. Okay, super simple. Alright, so now I have my spreadsheet running. Now, there's two ways you can do this, and I'll show you both ways, and I'll show you how I do it. You may have seen my version of the scanner, and I'll show you how I created it. It has all these green and red cells over here, but my ones and zeros are over here. So I'll show you how you do that. First of all, you can come here and you can go to Home. Don't hit File, it'll just mess you up. Go to Home, come over to Conditional Formatting, come down to Manage Rules. Now you can hit New Rule. It's just use Manage Rules. It does do it in a little bit different order. It's not a big deal though. You'd figure it out. Now you hit New Rule. Now there's a lot of different formatting that you can do on conditional formatting. I'm going to use a formula. And then I'm going to click here where this formula is true. So what do I want to know? Well, I want to know if that's a 1 or not. So I'm going to click right in that cell. And it brings it up here. Now, I don't know why it puts these anchors in here. One of you Excel aficionados will probably know, but we don't need it. So I'm going to take it out. If you leave it in there, your spreadsheet isn't going to work. And I'm going to take out that anchor, the $ anchor. Super simple. Don't do this. Hit the formula, hit the cell, click in the cell. Don't use your arrow key on your keyboard, because watch what happens. It adds in a bunch of gobbledygook here. Let's see here. Cancel. Of course, it didn't do it when I said it would, right? There. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit there, and now I'm going to hit the arrow. See how it put in all that extra stuff that you didn't want? It's just going to really confuse you. So, use your mouse, click, hit your backspace, click, hit your backspace. Alright, now it's going to say equals 1. So if that cell equals 1, this is Q10, if that cell equals 1, I want it to format that cell to be green. Okay, simple, easy peasy. Now you hit OK. Now you want it to tell it where it applies to. Now there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can click right in there. You can click there, and it brings up the same information that was just there, and you can drag that all the way down to the bottom of your list, and then hit enter. Oops. And now anywhere where there's a 1, that cell is green. Anywhere where it's a 0, the cell stays the same. So you can do it that way. Now remember that I told you that TOS does not care what you name your cell. It doesn't care that you called this the whole rise. Now it plotted it right there for your convenience. But if you look in that cell, it doesn't say whole rise. It says custom 1. That's why you want to know which one of your custom filters is custom 1 and which one is custom 2 and which one is custom 3. Because if you ever make changes in here, this is what it's reading. It's not reading whole. It's not reading market forecast. It's reading custom 1. That one's going to say custom 2. That one's going to say custom 3. So it doesn't care what you name this up here. It's looking at the root name. Okay, so that's one way that you can do this. If you don't want to do that, come back in here, hit Home, go to Conditional Formatting, Manage Rules, highlight it, delete it. apply, and you no longer have that. For me, it's better to do it this way. Alright, so I'm going to take, oops, close. I'm going to take and copy all this. This is just how I do it. Copy. And I'm going to come over to here. And I'm going to hit paste. Now I got all that information right there. Right? Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Home. And I'm going to change the font to white. So it's white on white. You don't see that. You don't see the symbol, but it's still there. ABBV is still there, even though you don't see it. Now this is why I do it. Now go to Home, Conditional Formatting, Manage Rules, New Rule. I want a formula. I want the formula that is here, because this is where the 1 is populating. I want it to change this cell when the formula here equals 1. I want a format. I want to make it green. I also want to change the font. I want to make it bold. And you see where it says automatic? Change that to black. So it's going to be white unless you fill this, and then it's going to change it to black. Don't leave it automatic, because sometimes it'll be white and sometimes it'll be black and sometimes it'll be something else. All right, you hit OK. This gives you an example of what it will look like when that equals a 1, and you hit OK. Then I just highlight that. It causes this to be highlighted, and I go all the way down. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. So now it applies to when Q10, oops, I didn't put that in there. We gotta edit this. Equals 1. Okay. When, oh, we gotta take those anchors out. When Q10 equals 1, format the cell for C10 to green with black fonts. You hit OK. Now, see how much easier that is rather than looking at the zeros? You know that ABBV has a whole moving average that's rising. And just right up here, just write it. In fact, I'm going to put, yeah, I'll just leave it right there. Oh, up. Just something that will tell you what it is. Now, come here. Do the same thing. Copy this. Don't copy and paste from here. It'll take your conditional formatting and put it over here. Copy. Paste. Home. Make it all white. Click there. Home. Conditional formatting. Manage rules. New rule. Use the formula that exists in when this formula is true. So now we want to go there. Take out the anchors. Equals 1. Format. The font to be bold and black. And fill it. Let's do a slightly different green. Let's do that color green, just so that we can see that something's different. You can use the same one if you like. Okay. Now we want to hit OK. Now this is where it's different if you just hit New Rule. When you hit OK, it just goes away. It doesn't bring you to this dialog box. So that's why I use this New Rule rather than the New Rule here under Conditional Formatting. All right. So I'm going to highlight that, And it doesn't matter that that anchor is there on the applies to. In fact, you want it to be there. It's just out here where it has to do with the formula. That's the only place you don't want the anchors. Alright, so now I'm going to take this. I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom of my list. Okay, everything looks good. Hit OK. Now I've got a scanner. Honeywell has both situations happening. I see that Cat has a rising home, but it does not have the crossover on the market forecast. And if that's part of what I need on my scanner, I know I need to omit it, right? I don't want to get it yet. And maybe you want to put a doji here. If we get a doji first, that alerts me. Then the next thing is the whole moving average starts rising. Okay, that's good. Now, I get both of these. I've got the whole moving average and I got a crossover. I had the doji may be gone now because it may have only been looking at the previous candle. You may not be looking back 4 or 5 candles. But now I've got this going on. Do you see where this really helps you to find some good stocks? Now let's go to, and that's the market F cross, right? Now I'm going to do one more right here. I'm going to hit home, conditional formatting, and I'll just do new rule so you can see. Hit that, where that situation is. Boom, boom. Format it. Oops, I didn't put it in. Make it a little bit different green. Make the font, don't leave it automatic, make it black and bold. Okay. Equals 1, which I forgot to do. Hit OK. See how it went away? It didn't give you the option to do the applies to. That's why I don't use the new rule. I just go to conditional formatting. I don't use the new rule. I go to manage rules because it skips this part for you. Not a big deal, but kind of a nuisance sometimes. Alright, so we come down here to ES. Boom. Now it applies. Everything looks good. Apply. I'm not sure why I don't have... Oh, did I not put these symbols over there? Interesting. I don't think I did. Alright. I don't know what's going to happen here. Copy. Paste. Yeah, you got rid of all my formatting. Okay. No big deal. Home. Change that to clear. Home. Conditional formatting. Manage rules. See, it's gone because I pasted over it. New rule. Formula in this box. Where that equals 1. See, you can do this pretty quick. Bold, black, and you could decide that you want to change the font and maybe give it a different kind of a fill. Like you might want to put a pattern in there. You may want to put one of these in there instead of a color. You know, just whatever helps you. Okay, more colors. Let's do this pretty green right here. Okay. Format. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Cancel. Hit OK. Now it brings up this box. Highlight that. Come all the way down. Make sure you don't cross this over and cover both columns. Okay. Apply. Okay. And now Honeywell, IBM, Alaska Airlines, Nike, they all look good right now to buy. Right? Now you can go and say F up. Now you can get really tricky, and you can go here, home, conditional formatting, manage rules, new rules, formula, where this, now watch this, where that plus that plus that equals 3. So now I got all 3 of these, right? And take out your anchors. Again, this, takes you an hour to make this thing, and then you're done. And then we're going to wrap this up because we're just about done. Format, and I want a pretty color blue. Okay, where that equals 3, or maybe you could say is greater than or equal to 2. So any 2 of these conditions, you want to know about it. Where this column plus this column and this column is greater than or equal to 2, or you can put 3, whatever you want. I want it to color this color. I'm going to highlight that, come all the way down, and now you don't even have to look at all these. No. Okay, and again, I forgot to put in the symbols here. So I'll have to do it all over again, but you get the point. Copy, paste, home, white, home, conditional formatting, manage rules, new rule, this plus this plus this is we'll just say greater than or equal to 2. Take out the anchors. Again, don't use the arrow key here, it'll mess you up. Format it to this color blue. Font, make it, I don't know, make it orange so it shows up better. I don't know, maybe a better orange. More colors. Standard. Make it some bright orange. Okay. And bold. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be really weird looking. And hit OK. Copy that. Or highlight that. Go all the way down here. Hit OK. Now, maybe a different font color, but you get the point. Maybe make it orange with blue highlighting. I don't know. Or just green with black. Whatever works for you. Now, anytime I see that, I know I've got 2 out of these 3. I'm not looking at these 1s and 0s. I'm looking at the actual symbols. That's why I do it this way. Because if I highlight the 1s and 0s, now I got to look over here and make sure, that I'm looking at the right, row. And that can take time when you're trading. I want to be able to look and say, boom, Coca-Cola. That's the one I want. Alright, so I'm almost done, almost out of time on this, so I'm going to show you one last thing that you can do that's really important, and you're going to run into this at some point. Alright, so every once in a while, you're going to want to change one of these symbols. So you're going to go to your quotes page. You saw how to do that. You're going to go in there and you're going to change, let's say we're going to change IBM to Ford. We don't want to look at IBM anymore. We want to add Ford to our list, right? Now the problem with that is I changed it here, but it doesn't know I changed it over here for IBM. It's still looking for IBM. It's not looking for Ford. So go here, hit Control F on your keyboard and bring up your Find and Replace dialog box. Find IBM and replace it with Ford and hit Replace. Now it just changed it, and now it's given you the information on Ford. Hit Replace. Now it gives you the mark change on Ford, not IBM. Replace, 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 replace. Now it's going to come back over here because IBM does appear there. We're going to replace it there. We're going to replace it there, 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 and there. So now you have just updated it on the fly. Hit close and it's done. It took you all of about 10 seconds to update your list, but you got to do it in both places. You have to do it both here, and then you have to do it on your spreadsheet. Super simple. You can add more symbols in. You just then gotta make sure that you, if you do that, then whatever this RTD is here, just copy it and bring it down one. So let's say that you expand your list, and now where it says ES colon, let's say that you put in symbol, I don't know, Tesla kind of thing. That's what you want there. Super easy. I'm going to hit escape. Do the same thing. Control F. Type in ES colon XCME. Is that what it is? XCME. And replace that with TSLA. You just don't want to go up here and change this information. So you just watch where it's at, but you just hit replace. Okay. Well, I think what happened is I put in the wrong thing there. That's what it is. Replace, 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 replace. And now you've added one in, and you'll probably have to drag some of this conditional formatting down, but you can add those in really, really quick. It's super easy. And the reason it's loading is because we haven't added it to our quotes list, right? Tesla doesn't appear on here. So you type in Tesla. And now it'll go find that on Tesla, and it'll go look for it, and it'll find it, and it'll start loading it. So that's how you do it. That's how you make your scanner. You can put in whatever information or indicators you're looking for. Super easy. And like I say, you get all kinds of good signals here as long as you have good indicators. I mean, your scanner's only as good as the indicators you put in the first place. So that's how you make it. You can condition this the way you want it, make it whatever colors, float your boat. And if you want to do it over here, because that's easier for you. I know people that do it that way, and they make a lot of money. It's easier for them to do it that way. Then do it that way. And if you want to do the opposite of these, that's the last thing I'm going to show, because this is really getting long. All right, conditional formatting, manage rules. What happened here? Oh, I'm over here somewhere. Okay. Told you not to do that, and I did it. Manage rules. See, I have my conditional formatting right here. Add a new rule. Formula, where this is true. Now, this is really trick. Click here. Take out your anchors. Because this is an on-off switch, right? It's either yes or no, right? Equals 0. What if it equals 0? Well, now this is where I like to do something a little bit different. I just make it bold and white because black against red doesn't show up quite as well. It's kind of like this. Alright, and then you come over here to fill, go red, hit OK. Okay, if that cell equals 0, I want to turn this red. Hit OK. And I just copy that, paste it here. Just easier. You can do it whatever way you like there. Hit OK. Boom. How about that? Now you got a scanner that gives you buys and sells, reds and greens. You can do combinations. You can do all kinds of things. Maybe you want to know, whatever conditions that are important to you. You want to know if there's a doji, and that doesn't necessarily tell you to buy, but it tells you to take a look. And then, last thing, I know I keep saying that, type in sort here and sort. Now, this is why I said don't do it up here in the top corner. You're going to take this information here and you're going to highlight all of it. All of it, all the way down. I did something wrong with that Tesla thing, but you'll understand if you ever need to do that. It's super simple. Now, go to Data. Go to Filter. Now, this is cool. Let's say, one last thing I got to do. Take this, copy, paste. Now, let's say that I only want to look at 5 stocks. All these stocks I'm looking at. I don't want to look. I don't want to look at them all. Today I'm only following Apple. I'm following Alaska Airlines. I'm following Facebook and Microsoft. Those are the only ones I want to look at. Boom shakalaka. Now I don't have to look at any of all that. I can just look at the ones I'm looking at. And if I get an alert somehow through ThinkOrSwim or some other service, now I know. Well, I just cleaned up my scanner. Super simple. And the reason I put this second sort on here is I actually put in names here, or I'll do it this way. I'll hit sort them all. Sort all, okay. And then I'll say sort this alphabetically. So, I gotta put this over here too. Trying to do this and finish up. Paste. Alright, and let's say I don't want this to be done this way. I want to resort it from Z to A. I just changed the sort, and now I just want to look at ABBV, EMR, Honeywell, Lilly, Nike. Okay. Now I can sort this list. Super easy. Or whatever sort criteria is in there. Maybe some of these are indexes and some of them are bullish stocks and some of them are bearish stocks, and just put in bull here and bear and core index or whatever it is you do, and then you can sort it by just what you want to look at. Super easy. and it's free. So hopefully that helps you. I'm going to let you go. Thanks for stopping by, and remember, good trading.